up, everybody? Garrett back here, and I have a kind of an impromptu video I'm going to do today with my brother Kyle from LAME GENIE, and we're going to kind of talk about our history with SEGA Genesis. SEGA! Back when we were kids, the big video game system growing up was Nintendo. This guy's really big into video games too. He was way better than me at video games, and we were killing with Nintendo for years and years and years, and it finally came to the big decision, I think it was around Christmas, on what's next. My mom came to us and it was, do we upgrade to Super Nintendo or do we move to SEGA Genesis, which was really hot at the time? And that was a really big decision that we had to make, and I know I've seen videos on this before, the big SEGA Genesis and Super Nintendo war, and we kind of lived exactly through that. And I don't know if you remember Mom asking us that question, dude.
Well, yeah, it was one of those things where the question was more like, hey, do you want to upgrade to this new version of Super, or do you want this badass black system with all this blast processing?
What Nintendo?
As a kid, I wanted to be that badass Sega playing dude, you know?
Yeah, and I can actually remember it like pretty well. I remember at first we were always in the assumption that we were going to get Super Nintendo just because it was the easiest transition. But when she brought up the idea of SEGA Genesis, I think that we kind of were more or less shocked because we weren't even thinking SEGA Genesis at the time. We were just thinking upgrading to Super Nintendo because Nintendo is all we really knew. And like he said, you know, when you saw the commercials for SEGA Genesis, it almost seemed like it was way ahead of its time for what it was. So ultimately, we ended up choosing SEGA Genesis, and I'm at his house now, and he has all of our games that we grew up with. I'm not going to say all of our games, but he has the games that we still grew up with. I don't have any of them available at my house. They're all here, and we found the SEGA Genesis games that we had growing up that we still have. We had a lot more than this. They must have gotten sold. I can remember, you know, back in the day when we were upgrading systems. I remember as Nintendo 64 came out, we were trading in tons of games for Nintendo and SEGA Genesis to buy and pay for a lot of these new Nintendo 64 games. So
was it Funkoland?
Yeah. Oh no, it was Babbage's.
Babbage's, yeah.
Babbage's.
I think they have like most of our 64 games.
Yeah, so Babbage's, I can remember going with my friend Mark and Brent and him, and we were all in line, and basically we were just trading in all of our old stuff to pay for like Super Mario 64 and stuff like that. So this is the stuff that we kind of still have. There's not many titles here, but I thought it would be kind of cool to go through each one and maybe just talk a little bit about our experience with these games.
So a lot of these games, I started collecting a few years back, and that fizzled out when they started re-releasing all the games on modern consoles. I feel like I didn't need to buy them at that point. So some of these games I bought recently, but a lot of these games are definitely the childhood exact copies that we had as kids.
Yeah, and you can see as they're sitting here right now, just the dust on them because, again, these haven't been played since probably like the 90s, more or less. I know we both ended up grabbing the SEGA Genesis Mini, so there was a lot of stuff on there that we had growing up, but these are actually the same physical copies that we had as a kid. And you know, the one thing I really liked about SEGA Genesis compared to the other systems at the time were their boxes and their cases. Like, these, to me, are things that I would still display and showcase because they just, they're sturdy, they just look nice. They weren't just paper boxes that were getting torn and
they're
all that
bigger.
Stuff. Yeah, so we'll go the obvious one, which is what came with our SEGA Genesis. And I remember getting SEGA Genesis on Christmas, and I remember being in 6th grade when that happened. So I'm thinking that could have been 1993, maybe, or tail end of 92, I think.
Beats me. Mid-90s.
All right, so the first one is going to be Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm just going to take a look and see when this came out. So this does say 1991, so I'm kind of in that ballpark of that 91, 92, 93. So I'm pretty sure we got this probably, it was definitely Christmas, so let's just say Christmas of 91. Let's just say that.
Sure.
Yeah, so this was the actual copy that we had as a kid that came with our system, which is funny because I don't know if this, I know some of them had like little tags at the top. I don't know
filthy.
if
Yeah, we used to rip them off. Those
Okay.
are what used to hang on the little
Tags.
hangers at the shelves. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can see right here it almost looks like there might have been some that we might have cut.
Thinking about it now, like you said, these boxes are so hard. We used to toss our Nintendo boxes out.
Yeah, and you know
You
what?
should
Like,
just take them and throw them out like idiots.
yeah, like most people I think did. I mean, I didn't personally know anybody that was keeping the Nintendo in the actual box that it came with. It was almost like that was the cover, and then they kept them in the little black sleeves.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
So I think that's why like video games have just skyrocketed in value now, and the Nintendo ones especially, because the rarity to have those boxes in great condition is very small. So something like a Sega Genesis, like more people had these complete and in better condition. Like I'm looking at these now, and yeah, they're not in perfect condition, but in way more complete condition than anything we had for Nintendo.
Yeah, they don't look 30 years old.
No, and oh, well, this is kind of loose in here, but you get the little cartridge, which is cool. We still have
Show it.
the directions here, and there's like a little.
Oh, that's cute. So there's a code. We have a code in here from when we were kids, written on a dog post-it.
And what's just funny is I don't know what this is, but this dog post-it, it's dated 1986.
Sick.
So
So what is it? Up, down, left, right, hold A, and then start.
that had to have been, what was the code in Sonic at the beginning?
Level select.
That must have been,
Must
what
have been
that
the
was.
level select code.
Sick.
Organized kid. We had it like in the box, written on like a dog post-it. Anything else in there?
No, that's it.
Did we write anything in the notes section of the manual?
Let's see. No writing. No writing here. But yeah, this was the first game that we had got. It was Sonic the Hedgehog, one of everybody's favorite. And this was pretty much the selling point for us, I think, with this game. Because, you know, you had those crazy commercials where it was like, Genesis does what Nintendo don't. And they showed Sonic flying around the screen, which was pretty badass at the time.
Yeah, Mario couldn't run that fast. That's for damn sure. Not even close.
One of the other ones that I think were the first ones that we had gotten on Christmas that year, not only was Sonic that came with the system, but was this bad boy.
Fucking love this game.
And it was WWF Royal Rumble.
It was so good.
This was a really cool game. Like, this game was just so far advanced compared to anything Nintendo did as far as wrestling, that when we got this game, we were like so blown away, because the things that you could do here and the graphics and stuff like that is such a different level than what we were used to. Like, for instance, you had a huge roster of talent here. You had, you know, shitty theme songs, but they each had theme songs. And
Sega sound is just so legendary.
yeah, what they used to call those, like MIDI or something like that. You know, like where they would do like the theme, but it would just be like.
Oh yeah, that's MIDI. Yeah. But every system sound chip sounds different, and the Sega sound chip was very limited compared to the Super. So I think one of the huge differences between Sega and Super is definitely the sound and the music. Sega had its own. Every song sounded like a metal song. Every song was just like, just like a punch in the face, wicked aggressive.
Now, you know more about games than I do, so again, the comparisons between Super Nintendo and Genesis, besides just the games, now looking back, was Super Nintendo a better choice,
Yes.
or was Genesis always going to be the better
By
choice?
far, Super Nintendo was a better choice.
that is-
They had way better, tons of games. They had the music was like far superior, and the games the Sega had really good games, but I think Super had way more better games. If that makes any sense.
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but another cool thing to think about is some of these wrestling games. I know there was another one which we'll kind of touch upon later. That the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, you had like a couple characters that were different.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I don't know off the top of my head, but like I think the one for Super Nintendo had Mr. Perfect in this, and which the Sega Genesis didn't. But we might have had like another character, like let's say Papa Shango, that you didn't get in the Super Nintendo version. So that was kind of cool as well. But
Well, you know what's funny about this game specifically? I remember loving it so much, but I did play it recently, and it doesn't hold up. It doesn't hold up at all.
well, I mean,
It's still fun, but every character's moveset is like almost identical,
Right.
and there's like this huge glaring things about it that just aren't right. Everybody's the same size. It's strange.
yeah, and everything was like pretty much a punch, and then a kick, and then everybody had a special move.
Yeah.
One of the games I want to talk about which is the follow-up to this one, which was WWF Raw. Now, we had that. Sadly, we don't have it here, so we must have gotten rid of it at some point, but it was pretty much an upgrade from this game. Now, I don't know if you remember. It's been forever since I played this, but remember the thing we used to do where we just beat up the ref?
Yeah.
Was that in this, or was that in
think that
Raw,
was in
or was
this.
that in both?
I don't know. I don't remember. It had to have been in both.
So if you guys out there remember these games, let us know, because that was one of the things that we love to do, is just like pound on the ref.
If you guys want a fun new mode to play in your 1992 copy of Royal Rumble, just beat up the ref as two
Oh
players.
my god, so funny. So I'm checking the.
So what's on the back of that? Mortal Kombat, kid.
So yeah, so this was another game that we got that Christmas to open. So we were definitely loving these two games right off the bat.
God, all our games have manuals too.
We were good. I'm very
crazy.
organized.
I know, but that you didn't used to be. That's something that came within the past 10 years.
All right, so the third game we're gonna grab is gonna be the follow-up to Sonic the Hedgehog, and that is Sonic 2, which again was a great upgrade to Sonic the Hedgehog. You added the addition of Tails. We do not have a manual in there, sadly. So I'm pretty sure that, and I could be wrong on this, but for some reason I almost feel like our neighbor must have gotten Sega Genesis a little bit after we did, and theirs came with Sonic 2.
Yeah.
And I think their box may have said not for resale.
Look at how worn that is, huh? That must have just been sitting out. Wild.
Now, I could be wrong, but did Sonic 2 ever say not for resale if it came with the system?
I don't know. It's a good question. I know we got ours after, obviously.
Yeah, we got ours afterwards, but I almost remember our neighbor having this, but I remember it almost being like not for resale. Like he must have got it with the system. But yeah, that was a great one. I mean,
this is my favorite one.
I was gonna say, does it hold up still?
Oh yeah, this one compared to the first is way better. This is and also if you guys are new to LAME GENIE, which is my cover band, we just did a single song and did this entire soundtrack in one song. It's about 12 minutes long. It's epic as hell. Thanks.
Wow. So make sure to check it out.
This is so this is definitely my favorite Sonic, and definitely my favorite Sonic music as well.
So you got your addition of Tails in there, and they're not here, but I remember having, I don't know if we had it or rented it a lot, but Sonic 3 and then Sonic and Knuckles. I can remember them very vividly as far as what the box art looked like. Sonic and Knuckles had that cool like black where it was almost like they were like a yin-yang type thing. But
do you remember like the big thing about the cartridge?
Sonic and Knuckles?
Yeah. So no. you could you put the cartridge in, there was an extra slot on the top of the cartridge, and then you could put Sonic 3 into it, and then you could play Knuckles throughout the Sonic 3 game.
So yeah, I don't remember that too much. Again, they were two pretty cool games, which I wish we still owned. I'm pretty sure they are on the Mini. It's been a while since I played mine. I think I got it, put it in, checked it out a little bit, and then that was about it.
Yeah.
Because it did have a lot. It had games on it like Streets of Rage that we were obsessed with, which I'm surprised are not here.
Yeah.
So again, that must have been something else that we had parted ways with at some point.
Streets of Rage 2.
Streets of Rage 2, yeah. They were the big ones for us, which it is sad that these aren't here. But the next one we're going to hit upon was a huge one for us, and I think everybody else that was into games at this time, and that was Mortal Kombat! Which I remember getting on Christmas again, probably the following year, I believe.
I think that was the trend, right? We got like maybe 2 or 3 games a year, and it was Christmas and birthdays.
Yeah, that's what I felt. But like we would get like a couple for Christmas, like maybe a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was the one that everybody was after. Mortal Kombat, the original one, I mean, it was just so ahead of its time.
And one of the huge things about Sega, and I don't know, did we get this when we first got Sega? Probably not, right? But one of the big things about the Sega and the Super Nintendo difference is Super had no blood.
So that's why I always thought Sega was like so much better. Like when this came out, I was like, oh, see, I'm so glad we chose Sega because, we have the blood and they don't. So that's what always made me feel like Sega Genesis was a way better system.
Man, those instruction books are so sick. You see the drawings in there and everything? What's that written on the back? What is that name? Like Frederick.
What the? Why would he have
I think I stole my friend's Mortal Kombat. Let me read it.
Do you think maybe he borrowed it and wrote it in?
Dude, his address is in here too.
Do you think he borrowed it? Because we definitely own this. You might have borrowed it.
Sorry, Mike Frederick. I have your Mortal Kombat.
It says in the bottom how many times you rent video games. He wrote a lot. This had to have been ours. No, I mean,
I don't know.
we had it.
Maybe we swapped instructions or something. That's awesome.
Or maybe
though.
maybe he borrowed it and then like filled it out. I
Dude,
don't know.
I'll send this to him.
No, you're not. Okay, so as we go through, this was another big hit for right here.
Yeah.
This was a game that I felt is, I don't know, in my opinion, I'm thinking it's really underrated, but I don't know if it gets the love it deserves.
They've had re-releases or remakes rather, but to us, I think this was a huge game for us. Toe Jam and Earl, baby.
Toe Jam and Earl. We used to play this thing so much.
Yeah, awesome music.
So killer. It was so different for its time, and it's still pretty different. But for some reason, we just found this thing so fun, and I think my friend Mark Hunley is the one who got me into this game.
It might even be his, to be honest with you.
No, I wasn't going to say his name in the directions. I remember having this, though. I do remember having this.
Yeah, we played a lot of Toe Jam and Earl.
And you could do, like, the levels where you would go, like, really, whether you go really down low or something.
Yeah, in
like,
the first level, if you get the rocket skates, then you can go all the way down, and you get to, like, this like minus world where there's like a hot tub with girls in it.
That was awesome.
And you can drink lemonade. It was like so random.
Well, this directions are kind of chopped up here. See, the bottom's cut off for some reason. Don't know why that would have been.
Oh, there's probably a coupon on it or something.
Yeah, that's weird.
Decap Attack is on the back.
I don't know, but yeah, Toe Jam and Earl. If you guys haven't played this, which I'm sure a lot of you have, definitely search it out. I don't know if it's on the mini or not. It could be.
I don't think so. It's still good because the game was so unique in the first place that the art style and everything still holds up, and the music is so awesome too.
All right, so another big one for us as a kid was, man, Disney was coming out with some games around this time that were just out of this world. Like, it just took Disney and like brought it to a whole new level. Like, these games got a lot of praise, and one of them was Aladdin, which I still love this game. The music was cool.
This is way better on Sega than it is on Super Nintendo.
Oh, is this?
Yep. It's a completely different game.
And
Black and white directions. Are those copied?
I
Like
don't know.
photocopied?
It feels weird. But how would they do that?
I bet Dad did it. Or Dad, he owns a print shop rather, so I bet he printed this for us.
That's
Legend.
weird.
Maybe I bought this afterwards. Maybe this wasn't our original. I mean, it looks like it is, but...
But yeah, Aladdin is such a cool game.
I love that game.
The other one that I don't think we owned, we might have, but we played a lot, which was very similar to this, was Lion King.
Game sucks.
What?
Yeah.
It's not as good as this?
Not even
I always felt like that and this kind of went hand in hand.
No, there was a... Lion King was good, but it was clunky. It wasn't fun to play like Aladdin was.
Now, we should have talked about this one probably before Mortal Kombat, but another big one at the time was Street Fighter 2, and this is Special Champion Edition. Now, I don't know, I remember having this, but did we always have this edition, or is this... Like, for some reason, I remember Mark Hunley having this.
I might have bought that.
Could have been his.
I might have bought... We were wicked into fighting games back then. Well, I was. I loved fighting games.
No directions.
You had to buy the special 6-button controller to play that on Sega too, which was pretty crazy to think about. Because Sega's original controller was only 3 buttons, so you couldn't...
Oh, we loved those 6-button ones. Those were so much better, and they were like smaller and sleeker.
Yep. We also had the arcade stick too.
So yeah, so if speaking of Mark Hunley, if he's out there, he remembers that arcade stick because we used to play that thing all the time.
Yep.
Speaking of that, which is another game that is a must in the Genesis world, which we had and played all the time, and is not here, is Mortal Kombat 2, which was probably the biggest game at that time, bigger than Mortal Kombat in my opinion.
Yeah, and 3.
And we had Mortal Kombat 3.
3 was my favorite one by far.
I still feel like Mortal Kombat 2 was like when it was at its height. Like,
as far as like popularity goes, I think you're probably right.
Yeah, because I think me and Mark Hunley like took the day off from school. It was Mortal Monday, and he went and picked it up because he had it pre-ordered, I think. And then we didn't get ours, I think, until like the following Christmas or birthday or something.
I remember my friend Craig his mother used to drop him off at the house and used to take the bus with me in the morning. And he had Mortal 2, so he put it in his backpack before he came to my house. And my mom wouldn't let us play video games before we went to school. So I pretended like I was going to go to the bathroom, and I went in Craig's backpack and took Mortal 2 out, and I put it in the Sega just for like 1 second, just so I could look at the screen pop up. So I was so pumped. Yeah. After school that day was awesome.
I bet. That's so funny. Yeah, so we played tons of that stuff too. And Street Fighter 2, I feel like we played, but it wasn't as much as a Mortal Kombat. And it was always kind of a weird thing to me was they just kept releasing like Street Fighter 2 this, Street Fighter 2 that, and I was always wanting like Street Fighter 3, but for whatever reason, I never played it, or I don't even know when it came out. Do you remember Street Fighter 1?
Yeah, we never played it. Yeah, I know.
You know when we played it?
No, I never played Street Fighter 1.
Street Fighter 1 was at, what was the in Lincoln we used to play soccer in? Okay, Ocean State Sports Center or whatever, and they had an arcade in there. Now, it wasn't in there. It actually was like when you went to the big turf field, there was like 2 or 3 arcade games like in the corner.
Yeah.
And they had Street Fighter 1
What
there.
was the other one?
They had Mortal Kombat, I think.
What was the other one? Primal Rage, dude.
Well, I remember Primal Rage, but was that over there or was that around like the other side?
That was in the weird spot.
Like near the volleyball
Yeah,
field, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I remember that too. So they kind of had like games sporadically
Primal
placed
Rage.
like around some of the fields, and then they had like a full arcade with like NBA Jam and stuff like that.
That place
in
was
there.
awesome, huh?
It was a cool place, and we used to spend like a lot of our weekends in there, like because we'd be in tournaments or play multiple games. And I can even remember points where he would be playing, and I would be in like this little food court area, which was almost like a little restaurant, and I'd be watching like Wrestling Challenge on TV, like at 11 o'clock or something on a Sunday.
Yeah, there was a whole upstairs to that
Yeah.
place too. Had like a bar, and they had I think it was NBA Jam was up there, or they had those classic arcade
Oh yeah, they had
shooting
the
hoop.
shooters, yeah.
Yeah, that place was freaking crazy for a kid.
And I mean, we used to just basically go there in the morning and stay like all
Yep.
night. So you would have kids just running around basically like it was like our playground basically. But yeah, so I can remember them having Street Fighter 1, and I don't know if it was for a long time, but a little while, because I remember thinking to myself, wow, this is so different than Street Fighter 2. It didn't really even like match. And then I think they got rid of it and threw like Mortal Kombat 2 in there or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember ever playing it. I was probably too young.
So another good one here is X-Men. Now, it's weird because it's, to me,
I bought that.
Okay, so this is not original. Like when we were kids.
We didn't have that.
We didn't have this one.
Andrew and Dan did. Our neighbors.
Okay, but I remember playing it a lot.
Yeah, we loved it. Our neighbors had it, not us.
I think Mark Hunley might have this one too. But what's funny about this to me is this to me reminds me kind of like the Nintendo Ninja Turtles. And the reason I say that is because when you compare X-Men to X-Men 2, which came out, which was like graphic-wise was way better.
The Clone Wars is one of my favorite X-Men games.
Like it was like night and day better.
Uh-huh.
And it reminds me of like Nintendo, where when Ninja Turtles arcade game came out, it was night and day compared to what we had as the regular Ninja Turtles. And that's kind of what reminds me of this. Like the graphics weren't great, but I think like in overall gameplay, I think this one was better.
Yeah, it wasn't better, but it was really fun. It was a really good game.
And I think now looking back is when we were kids, we always really liked Ninja Turtles, the arcade game, way better than Ninja Turtles, the original NES game. But now I kind of feel like the NES game as a whole was like a better game. Because it wasn't really just like a beat 'em up. You know what I mean?
The arcade game for Nintendo was kind of botched. It wasn't a good port of the arcade. But I love Turtles 1 for Nintendo. I know people shit on it, but I think that game's awesome. It's not. It doesn't have to even be Turtles. They could swap the Turtles out with any character, and it would still be a good game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I appreciate it more now. Like at the time we were kids, I loved it because that's all we had.
Yeah.
And then when arcade came out, it was always like Ninja Turtles arcade, and part 1 to us was almost like a joke at that point. Like we never played it ever again. But that's what I kind of think of when I think of X-Men, is that this was so cool. But then when Clone Wars came out, this looked so bad.
Yeah.
But I think as a whole of a game, I don't know, for some reason I feel like this one really worked.
I still like that game because I think that was the first time that we played an X-Men game at home, because the other one we only played was the arcade.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well then we're not even talking about
I know.
the arcade.
That's
game
what I mean.
X-Men
So
was
I
just
think
unreal.
when we played that one, that was all we had. So we loved it. Is there instructions in that? It says free poster.
Yeah,
I didn't know maybe
no
the poster
instructions
was
in
still
there.
in there.
Here's another wrestling one that we did keep, which was like really on the tail end of Sega Genesis.
So shitty.
And this was another one where the arcade game was awesome, and this port was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
I can remember when we found this at our local arcade, Dream Machine.
Yep.
And it was like the new game. We were like obsessed with it because it was basically taking WWF and putting it into like a Mortal Kombat setting, and it was really popular at the time. I remember people in line like waiting for that.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, and I kind of fell in love with it, and it was around a weird time in WWF, like that 93, 94, where you had like Lex Luger was there at that point, and then this thing came out, and I was all amped up for it, but it was never the same.
Undertaker's wearing white face paint?
No, that's just how he looked at the
No.
time. Well, yeah, like it was
He
like...
used to wear white?
No, it wasn't. It's not. It's just very like... It almost looks like powder. Like he's like very pale.
Oh, so he was doing that Paul Bearer look back
Yeah,
then? I
so-
remember that.
This is actually really tail end because we're talking about getting Sega Genesis around 92, and this is 95. So this was really kind of towards the tail end. I'm not sure when the next crop of systems came out, but actually it must have been around that time because the follow-up to this was for another system that we had, which we could probably talk about in another video, and it was even worse than this, but it was for a better system, which was super weird, and which we'll get into that at some point. But yeah, WrestleMania Arcade still has the instructions in here.
That's definitely our original one too.
Yeah, because I didn't know many people who had this game. But yeah, I was excited when I got it, but not that great of a game. It's probably the worst of all the games for Sega Genesis when it comes to WWF.
It was a good experiment, I think.
Yeah, but they were trying to kind of do the Mortal Kombat thing with this. And again, it worked way better in the arcade. Speaking of 1995, pretty much kind of like the only real sports game we have here. And that is FIFA Soccer.
How did that make it?
95.
How did that not get traded?
I don't know how this made it. Actually, you know what? I think I do know. Let me see something for a second. I knew it.
Oh, it's not even FIFA. It's not even FIFA.
I knew it. I knew it.
Was it hard driving?
Yeah.
No way,
Yeah.
dude. That's not even ours.
I'm going to tell you whose it is.
I know, it's Dan's.
Nope.
All right, so hold on. Let's explain what just happened. So we have FIFA, and we both just said we don't know how it made it past our trading spree. And it turns out, because we don't even have FIFA, but we have what?
Hard drive.
Hard drive.
Okay. I can actually explain
That's
all
wicked
this.
funny, dude.
I can explain this. Okay. So,
Dude, we have the instructions, though, for FIFA.
and this has our original address put in there.
Oh, yeah? Damn.
So, let me explain how this happened.
How the hell did you remember that?
I could be totally wrong here, but I'm going to tell you what I think this happened here. All right, so FIFA Soccer, for whatever reason, I think I let someone borrow this.
And I loved FIFA. I thought that
it
was a
was a
great
good
game. Yeah.
And I'm going to say that person might have been my friend Brent. Okay, that's one memory. Okay. So I let him borrow this, big soccer fan, and he gave it back to me, and I never played it ever again. And I think during the time that we were going to try to sell a lot of our stuff off, I opened it and there was nothing in here. So he basically returned the box, but never returned the game. Now,
Think that was on purpose?
I could be off and maybe it wasn't him, but that's the story with this, is where we couldn't trade this in because the game was no longer inside. So whoever borrowed it from us didn't return the game. So hard driving, which
Fucking love that game.
was a great game, very odd game.
It wasn't great. It was
entertaining.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an entertaining game. And our neighbors Dan and Andrew had this game. And we used to play it all the time because it was kind of like nothing we've ever really
No,
experienced
it was
before.
like virtual reality almost. It was all wireframed, and the replay was fucking amazing.
Now, if you don't know, is that this was originally an arcade game. So if you ever been to Fun Spot, you've been there, right? They
Yeah.
have the arcade game. Because I remember seeing it, and I think it was
it's way
called like
better.
Race Driving or something.
Yeah.
It was like a different name. But you're in the car and all that other stuff. So this was the port from that.
It was a trial.
Now, this gets weirder because this isn't... The only people that we knew who had this game was Dan and Andrew. And this is not their game. So my wife was moving out of her house into an apartment for the first time many, many years ago. and I was helping her move out, and I was going through some of her stuff, and I found this.
She had hard drive?
Yeah, but this was all she had. This was it.
What a sad childhood. She had Sega, and the only game she had was hard drive.
I don't know. I know she had Sega, and I know she had regular Nintendo. I think she had Sonic.
So you took that and put it in the FIFA box.
So I took this because I didn't want it to get thrown out, and I remember bringing it home and didn't know what to do with it because she didn't have a case for it. So I remember this didn't have anything in it, so I just threw it in here to keep it safe.
Hard driving.
So
it doesn't even fit because the FIFA cartridges were big. They had that big yellow thing on them.
Yeah, so it's just kind of hanging out in here. So that's the story of this here. But there's actually a better game in here than FIFA, even though FIFA was kind of cool. But yeah, that's a story on this. Super weird. If anybody has a hard drive and case or a FIFA game with no box, let us know. But yeah, that's the story on these two games here.
When I was going through a collecting phase, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and I was trying to find all the old games that we had, the ones that I didn't have any left. So I bought this game, RoboCop 3, thinking that it was RoboCop vs. Terminator, because RoboCop vs. Terminator was wicked good.
Yeah.
This game's not so good, so I was kind of pissed when I came home and plugged it in, and I was like, wait a minute, this definitely isn't the game that I thought it was.
Yeah, I saw that in this pile when we pulled it out, and I thought to myself, I never played this game in my life. I didn't know where it came from, and he said he had bought it thinking that it was RoboCop vs. Terminator, which was a game that we rented a lot, but I don't think we ever owned. It was a real cool game. It still's a real cool game. So he bought RoboCop 3 thinking it was RoboCop vs. Terminator.
No good.
But I've never played it, so I can't really say much on it. We have two more games here. This one
That tape shut?
is one that I remember having as a kid, but I don't know if this is our original copy or not. Jurassic Park, but this is weird because there's tape on it. So I don't know if maybe you bought this again and never even opened it.
Possible.
It's pretty clean looking. I mean, it's still even got this little thing. Like I said, we were pulling a lot of these
I think
off.
one of the calling cards of our games is that we ripped that thing off as soon as we got it.
So this might have been one that you rebought, trying to rebuy our collection.
Let me see if the instructions are in it or anything.
So I remember that one was really cool at the time because you could either be Grant or you could be a Raptor, and it was almost two different games. And I also think that our neighbor Zach had this one as well, because I think that was why we decided to buy it, because we really liked it there.
We're gonna have to make a video explaining all of the friends that we talk about with a big flow chart and stuff, how they're connected to it. Yeah.
Well, hopefully some of these people watch these videos and then have an idea of who we're talking about here. But yeah, this has directions in it. I don't know if there's anything inside, no writing.
Yeah, there's a bunch of passwords.
Oh, a bunch of passwords.
That's not my writing. Anyone wants the Jurassic Park passwords screenshot?
Imagine it's no, it doesn't look like it'd be Zach's writing either.
No, it looks it looks like Mom's writing. right here, dude.
Mom's playing it.
That's wicked Mom's writing.
But yeah, I remember the game, but I don't know if this was our original or not.
But we definitely owned it though.
We definitely owned it.
Yeah, because we love Jurassic Park.
Now another one that I think I remember from our neighbor Zach. And I don't know why I remember that from him, or if we just played it at his house a lot, because I know we rented it.
It's Josh Stevens.
This is a game, Skitchin', which I think was such a good game that no one ever talks about.
Yeah, it was so good.
And we used to rent this quite a bit, and I think we ended up either buying it straight up, or I don't know, a part of me almost thinks, did we buy it from Blockbuster? I don't know, but anyway, this was a game we both really loved. I think it's a game that people should definitely check out because it's not one that you're going to really see ported over onto any, wow, it's got a bunch of stuff in there. Any other, systems like the Mini or anything like that, but...
It's almost like Road Rash for rollerblades. So Road Rash was that motorcycle game where you'd punch the other dudes.
Mm-hmm.
This is very similar to that, except you could grab onto the back of cars. It was awesome.
Yeah, so you would be rollerblading, you'd be in a race, and then you would, to win the race, you can grab on the back of cars and skitch around, and then you'd try to not get arrested and all this stuff. And we liked it so much that I remember us putting rollerblades on and grabbing onto each other's bikes and riding up and down the street with our neighbors and stuff. But then you could fight the other guys. This was a real cool game at the time. So that was the last one that we have here.
Well, before we wrap up, Skitchen's got a poster inside.
So I was just going to ask you, what do we got in here?
All right, so we got, looks like a poster from Skitchen. What is this? Get a clue. So it's the tips and passwords. I don't even know. In the back has a bunch of stuff on it too. I'm not even sure what this is. Is it an advertisement for? Oh, it's it's like the Nintendo hotline. It's an advertisement for the Nintendo hotline stuff. And the back is just a ton of electronics arts games. That's freaking awesome.
That is cool. And this kind of has like that weird, feels like these directions were like printed on.
Just call anytime.
Cool.
1-900-288-HINT is the hotline. That's so funny.
Yeah.
This is in like perfect condition.
It's in great condition.
There's no wear
It's
on
funny
this
because it's
whatsoever.
got road rash right there. What
Oh,
is
it
this
does?
one?
Haunting.
So that's everything that we still have. A lot of it was from our childhood. We kind of tried to go through, this was on a whim. I was over here. I saw them on a shelf and I said, let's talk about these things. And him being a big gaming guy, especially with his band, as you can see, we're in the studio right now filming this. Now, before we finish, because we've already been talking, I can't believe it, about almost 40 minutes. I want to kind of just run through some of the games that we love, that we own, that are no longer here. Because every time I do things like this, I get a little itchy to like start buying them again. So I did that with the R.L. Stine books. I went through a period where Fear Streets kind of hit. If you haven't checked out that video, I posted it earlier this week on the last and final Fear Street. But, I was getting itchy just talking about it, and I started buying a lot of these books. So same thing now, going through and looking at these games, man, this collector mentality that I have, it's like, man, I would love to go back and find all these games that we had as a kid. But games are hot right now, and if I was to do that, I feel like I would have to go either to a yard sale or something, but because eBay, I've been looking for
No, you can't.
Maniac Mansion, like complete, and it's well over $100.
How about that PC version we have?
Yeah, we'll get into that on one episode. Is the PC version of Maniac Mansion that is worth boatloads of money that we have. We're missing like one little piece to it, but I mean, I could still get a lot for it. But it's definitely a cool piece because that was another game that him and I loved growing up. So if you want to kind of run through a couple really quick, let's talk about some games that we still don't own that maybe we haven't talked about, like we talked about Mortal Kombat 2 and 3.
Yeah, I got one right off the top of my head. Earthworm Jim.
Oh yeah, I can't believe we still have that.
Yeah, but that's still, like, I put that in some of my top games of all time, I think. The first one.
That was a game-changer game, and
I
we
think
owned
so
it.
too, yeah. We owned it. I got it for, I think, either my birthday or Christmas. I got that and the strategy guide on the same day.
Oh, that's a good one. You know what? I wasn't even thinking of Earthworm.
Yeah. For the the Super Nintendo version is better. But the music on the Sega version is so gross and awesome and grimy. But that's why I like that one better. I think I love that game.
Just
Beavis and Butthead.
Oh yeah, so Beavis and Butthead. That was an awesome one. Actually, I loved that game.
The Super one's way better. It's totally different.
It is.
Uh huh.
Oh, that was such a good one.
Yeah.
All right, another one that we got. I think the day of for this that we do not still have was Jordan vs. Bird. That was the first game we got with Sonic, and I think maybe the wrestling game was in there too. But
It's so funny.
do you remember Dad reaction? So our dad was like, it was a new system, and he was playing Atari and then Nintendo. So, to him this was like another level.
Insane,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, he was like, this is so realistic. Like you can hear the squeaking of their shoes on the court. Like he was going nuts. You look back on it now and you're like, dude, these graphics were shitty.
I mean, you could do like Jordan vs. Bird, and then you could do like the Bird 3-point contest,
Yeah,
and then
that was fun, though.
the Jordan dunk contest. That was
Yeah.
the only game modes.
The 3-point
So
contest I
boring.
think was kind of fun though. Actually.
Well, we played the hell out of that game.
But that
I
was
think it's
another
because it
one
was
that
all we had.
yeah, like that was another one that we got on day one. I could just remember my dad being like so astounded by it, and being the salesman that he is trying to win us over. And what a great system this
Yeah.
was, and what a great choice this was.
As me and my brother are playing basketball on Sega.
Speaking of basketball, another one that we don't have in here, which was like a favorite of ours, was NBA Jam. And we also had the tournament edition too,
Yeah,
which was so
awesome.
killer at the time. And I can still remember like the day we got that. And
The port for Sega was really good. They had all the codes that you could unlock all the new characters. Like, it was one of the earliest games I can remember that had that many cheats and like that many like secret things that you could unlock like just through codes and stuff. It was really awesome.
yeah, and what's so weird about NBA Jam, and I know Tournament Edition wasn't too different. It just gave you like new rosters and some different codes and stuff. But the amount of like hidden characters in that game was just unreal. Like Bill Clinton was in there. Then they had like
Well, the amount of real characters, like their roster, what was it, 3 or 4 people per team, and then
Yeah.
you could pick 3. That was crazy at the time, and they all looked like the people that they were supposed to portray.
yeah. Remember there was
pretty
another like
nuts.
even George Clinton. I think like there was like even like Ice Cube. Like you had like a bunch of
There
weird.
was like this little kid. His name was Air something.
Yeah, well, who was that?
I don't know.
It was super odd, just the amount
I
of
think the
characters.
Beastie Boys were in it.
I think they were. And we used to play the hell out of that game.
Yeah.
But that's kind of sad that we don't have that one too. That and like Earthworm Jim are two that I wish we still kept. And Beavis and Butthead was another good one. you
Eternal
mentioned.
Champions.
Also, speaking of loving fighting
Yeah.
games like this guy here, I think you might have bought it or got it for your birthday.
I
or
don't
something.
know.
But Eternal Champions was
So random. I don't think anyone's ever played that except us.
but it was new. Like it would just come out, and I
Yeah.
can remember we got it, and like no one had ever even heard of it, and it was pretty cool for what it was. It was very similar to like Street Fighter.
But they had, I think they were trying to compete with Mortal Kombat because it was pretty violent, and they had a bunch of stage
I was gonna
fatalities.
say, yeah.
Yeah, so you could like punch the guy into the fan in the background, and he'd like explode. And it was really gory, and I think they were trying to compete with that Mortal Kombat like style to try and be like really edgy. It was okay.
Where's ours? You know,
Fucking know.
you had to guess somebody that might have it. Really good.
Brent?
Brian LaPlante.
He does? No, he doesn't.
I think he does.
No way.
Yeah, I think he does.
Like we're talking like he still has it like now.
No, he doesn't have it now.
we're
We're
the
the only
only
ones
idiots,
that keep these things. We're the only ones that keep these things. And actually, if it was, I pretty much like forced him to keep the stuff. I was like, listen, you can keep it at your house, but don't throw it away.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was another cool game. But I remember he borrowed it, I think, and then he bought like a strategy guide. Remember?
No, I
Remember
don't
that?
remember that deep.
But yeah, for some reason, if Brian checks this out, let us know. You still have it.
I'll buy it. I'll buy it back from you.
Another cool one that I think we had it. I know we played it a lot. I know maybe our neighbor had it. Was Maximum Carnage, which is a killer Spider-Man game back then. I think it came out again maybe towards the later years of Genesis, but Maximum Carnage was a huge game that we
The
absolutely loved.
regular Spider-Man 2. It was not Spider-Man 2, but the regular Spider-Man, the one that had Kingpin in it, was an awesome game for
yeah.
Sega too. I forgot what that
I'd
was
like
called.
Yeah, it had all like those side characters.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like
I think it
Rhino
wasn't
and all that
Sinister
stuff.
6. It was something else. That was a good one.
I think was it just Spider-Man maybe?
Might have been.
Trying to think of another cool one that we had was Tasmania was one that I remember getting like right after we got the system,
Yeah.
like around like New Year's or something like that.
I almost think we got it in like one of those Babbage's bargain bins, but I might be remembering wrong.
No, but we did get it at the mall because I can remember going to the mall after Christmas. Maybe we returned some stuff and had money to
Yeah,
get
that
it.
could have been it.
Because we got that really early and it still had like that old school box that was like, to me, Genesis went through the period where you either had like those black boxes with the little checkered, or it went to like those red boxes that said Genesis on the side. And that was definitely in the vein of like the Toe Jam and Earl box. And I don't know if we had all
I remember we probably were in the store and we were just like, I don't know, Tasmania. Like, why would we buy Tasmania?
I think because it was been new at the time. And
Yeah.
maybe it was just, I remember seeing a commercial and being like, oh, that looked really cool.
Yeah.
And
I mean, for what it was pretty fun. I played it a lot. It wasn't good, but I played it a lot as a kid.
And then the other one, Mania, what was that one?
Oh, Mickey Mania.
Which was cool.
awesome.
Yeah, like we got that later because that had like the red box. and
Remember
stuff
there
like
was that level where Mickey was running towards the screen and behind him was all the...
the brooms or whatever?
No, it was running towards the screen was all the antelope from Lion King, remember? It was running at him and you had to dodge it, but it was
That
like
was-
coming at the
That was Lion King?
No, Mickey Mania had a level like that too.
But
So good.
do you remember anything else that we played or had or You know, besides the ones that we talked about, like Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal
Holyfield
Kombat
boxing.
3. Yeah. Was it?
Box.
It was Holyfield, or yeah, I think it was Holyfield. Unless it was Buster Douglas. It was an early one though.
Yeah.
And I think our neighbors had that one. That we used to play that as well. But yeah, man. Like again, we went on for a long time on this, just kind of talking about this stuff.
We probably could go even further if we had a list of all the games that we had, or like just to look at so we could get rejuvenated. Because we played a lot of Sega. A ton of Sega.
Yeah, we played, and again, if you think about if we got it in 92 and we still had it in 95, like that's well, it's weird because it feels like that's a long time back then, but it's not really that long actually at all. But yeah, we played the hell out of that. And we could do this again. If you guys liked this video, again, it was very different for my channel, but that's why I kind of like to keep everything in the same vein of nostalgia and stuff like that. So let us know. He's got more stuff here that we can go through of other systems and other games that we still have, and then we can kind of talk about the ones that we had that we don't have anymore. But yeah, with the next step after this, so it went for us, it was Nintendo, Genesis, and then I would say, let us know if you want to see the next one, because it was a little obscure of a system that we chose for our third system.
Not many people I knew had it. And even to this day, telling people that I had it, they're very surprised.
Yeah, because there was so many more directions you could go now. You went from Nintendo, then you could either choose Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis. And then as we started progressing now to 32-bit, is that what 32-bit? You had more to choose from, and it became a little bit harder to make those decisions. So we made a decision, got something, and then very shortly after, we kind of pivoted and like grabbed something else. So yeah, let us know if it's something you guys are interested in. Let us know if you remember these games that we showed you, and what games do you recommend for the Sega Genesis that maybe we didn't even bring up. All right, guys. Hey, thanks, guys, again. And like I always say, stay
Red?
Yes.